everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Today, we have, we had a pretty sweet game. We could celebrate against Boston, but two periods yesterday definitely brought us down against the Rangers. All of that excitement, and it's one of those things like this, we're gonna talk about like what's going on with this, and I haven't had the time to really look at the analytics, but we'll all take a look at it together and see if we can figure out what the heck's going on. But wouldn't it be great right now if this episode was we came back and beat Boston, and then we went into New York and got the victory, and like I get it, like that's it, like being a fan and like how it can go up or down like crazy like that. But it is one of those things. Like I don't think it's panic mode, and this team is definitely still I've already heard the conversation around us nationally turn from, well, they may have banked enough points already to just tell themselves for the rest of the season they're in the playoff race. But and it being in the playoff race doesn't mean you're a playoff team, by the way. Let's remember.
They kind of feel like I have a puppy, and it kind of feels like training her to go outside and relieve herself. Or it's like, against Boston, it's like, see, she's doing it all on her own. She didn't even do one little tinkle in the house. And then the next day in New York, she crapped all over the carpet. And I was like, God damn it. But then she saw that we were mad, and she's like, oh, don't do that. So then, in the third period, she did go outside and tinkle on the grass. So it's just, you want it game in, game out. But this is a really tough slate of games, right, that they're at right now.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of be like, all right, they're not an elite cup contender yet. So can we digest a nice comeback win at home against, of the two games, I would have wanted the Boston win more than the Rangers win. I think the biggest bummer for me is that we played like such crap against New York that I missed most of the comeback because I just thought it was over.
Yeah.
But if you want like another big kind of positive takeaway, is it the past two games now we've scored 6 combined third period goals. So if you kind of want to hang your hat on a team that's not given up, I mean they're playing really well in the third period. It's even goofballs like Klim Kostin are putting in goals here against New York.
No, that's not. This is gonna sound mean. I don't mean this to you, but that isn't the worst take. And I did want to take on that idea today. Like, well, at least we have a team that doesn't give up. But and sort of challenge that. Like, does that happen if I forget who scored the first goal yesterday? Was it Klim's goal? No, it was Rasmussen. Goes in first, and it's just like he's had such bad luck. Like, you could imagine a game where he just rings it off the post and it's still 5-0. And does Klim come in that next shift and roll off that play? And then are we still pushing as hard where Andrew Copp makes it 5-3? So there was that idea, at least I saw, was a team that looked really good, but everybody around me, and this is the story, was that I missed everything and turned on the game to see Rasmussen score.
Oh, good for you.
Turned it on. It's 5-0. I'm like, all right, I'm finally home from work. Let's turn this on and see what's going on. Rasmussen scores. Klim scores 20 seconds later. I'm like, well, this team's the bomb.com. There's no problem here. We know what's going on.
I should have known.
What you guys bitching about?
I had this love-hate relationship with Bally, and I deleted it. And then I was like, "Ooh, a game on TNT, which means I can watch it for free on HBO."
Yeah.
And I told my lady, I'm like, "Hey, go ahead and you can have the big TV to play video games tonight. I'm gonna watch the Red Wings." Oh man! And then it was 5-0. I was like, I regret this decision. So
Yeah, that's another thing I want to talk about too. But we should say hello to all of our friends here. Chewy did ask right at the beginning, are they going to be on time? We were a minute late. We were a minute late today, but I
We're a
think a
minute
minute.
closer to being on time, though, Chewy.
Right. Today was a rough day. It's been a rough week for Matt. Matt had a huge work thing that kept him obviously
At least
at
it's a
work.
work thing. I was worried it was going to be another. Well, my fantasy hockey team needed some emergency management this morning, and luckily I came through.
You're winning, by the way.
Yeah, I should
Terrible
be winning
time for
by
that
more,
comment.
but my goalies on Monday dropped me. I had -2 points on Monday total.
Happened to me too, bro. My
Yeah,
goalie
but
pooped the bed too.
no, but mine really pooped the bed. Like, you don't understand. And then Ketzel saying, "What up, my nerds?"
What
Ketzel,
up, Ketzel?
you're among friendly nerd friends.
Shout out to Ketzel for being one of my one of the top, but one of my favorite people to talk to. Top participators, I should say, on the Discord. One of my favorite people to talk to on the Discord as well.
Oh,
And I should, you know what? While we're talking, why don't I pull up that that Discord code? Yeah. Do you want to keep running
while
through
you're
the
doing that,
comments, and I'll pull up
yeah, just
Discord? Yeah.
Dan B asking a question that I don't know if many of us have the answer to. Why did Newsy change a winning lineup? Fabry wasn't ready to play. Dan, I wish I had the answer for you. The best I can say is that it's like every time he plays now, it kind of makes me think it's a contract maneuver. We're paying this guy X amount of dollars. We got to, get some bang out of that buck. And then you also kind of treat it like a showcase, the Fabry showcase, where if you want to try to move him, you got to show that he can still do something. So, yeah, not super excited to break up a lineup that defeated Boston, but here we are. And then
What
Fritz,
are we looking at the Fabry contract? I know it's $4 million.
$4 million for I think
2
3
years.
more years. Is it only 2?
Yeah.
Then somebody we don't hear from a lot. Fritz, how you doing, bud? Throwing in a fantasy trade that I don't even think the video game would approve. You would have to take both ownership sides for Draisaitl, for Reimer or Lyon, and a pick incoming.
I don't know. You have Edmonton 2-8-1 right now, right? And they have San Jose for their next game, right? You lose to San Jose.
San Jose is all in, baby. They made a hot trade today. They got their first win. They're like, woo! Now that we figured out this winning thing, now we can assemble this team.
I almost think that's must-watch TV. When is that game? Edmonton and San Jose. I might be way off. I was listening to Puck Soup and they were talking about it. Okay, that's tomorrow at 10:30. Yeah. Must-watch TV because, well, is it though? Because if something happens, it's not going to happen till Friday. But man, I mean,
it's not.
Do you fire Ken Holland in the post-game press conference? Like he gives I was listening. We'll just talk about this real quick. He gives Jack Campbell notoriously, and he was on my fantasy team, by the way. So I bought in.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
we got to figure it out.
Luckily, Matt, you could pick up Calvin Picard. So
they're paying him $5 million a season now to hit waivers. Crazy. Such a dumb move by Ken Holland.
He made it to the AHL.
Well,
I mean,
hopefully I get fantasy points for that.
No, Fritz, kidding. I understand the idea, but
we talked about that lightly last week. I'm really bouncing around now. I never do this, and I pulled Cap Friendly up before we started. I was like, you should be responsible today, but both Fabry, Mike, and Draisaitl contracts end in 2 years, so could be. Let's do Fabry for Draisaitl straight up. See what happens.
Straight up.
What did Ketzel threw out there? Fabergé egg is already hurt again. Ketzel might already be. This was officially 3 minutes into the episode, so we are behind on reading these comments. 3 minutes in the episode, we might have gotten comment of the episode. I gotta say, that's top.
It does happen. Fritz, I will not quash your dreams. I will be skeptical of your dreams, but I hope they happen.
Don't squash my dream. Fritz, I'm right there with you. This is the team. This is where Holland's gonna have to like get desperate if he wants to keep his job, and something's gonna have to happen. So, and that's the thing though too. Holland's not gonna make a move to improve the team for the future. So
Yeah,
that's
but I
gonna
feel like
be at the end of the season. Holland's got to
he's
look for
more of a name
something now.
chaser. He's more of a name chaser than I am. So I think he's going to be looking at the waiver wires and going, "Ooh, Jack Campbell's available." It's
No.
like, you put him on waivers, you dork.
I'm not saying Yzerman would make this move, but like this is the move that's going to be offered to us. Is it's going to be like, how about Evander Kane? And then, they want one of our goaltenders, and we're going to, well, take another forward with an okay shooting percentage. Like that's, or they're going to give us Sam Gagne back, who, he 2 goals in his first game for. Okay, this isn't an Edmonton podcast,
Turn
but
back the clock, baby.
All right. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. But I do think if you're Edmonton, if you're Ken Holland, you're keeping everybody and just trying to add to this mess somehow. But
I think what you do is
see what happens.
You call up Calvin Pickard. You see if you can get Magnus Hellberg, trot him back out again. Get some more retreads from that Red Wing pipeline, Matt.
Oh, and Jack Campbell is only 3.85, so not quite the devastating 5 mil I was thinking this was. So they might find a way out of that.
Is that like his AAV? Because I swear I read that he counted 5 against the cap.
Cap Friendly says that's what I'm looking at on Cap Friendly right now. I don't know. He's 4.6% of the cap. Is that all right? You guys want to talk Red Wings? I don't know. Should we do that for a moment? Discord apparently is updating, so it finished. All right, let's do that live. Go to Red Wings Rant. If you guys are just searching for it, it's Red Wings Ranters. And let's see. How do you do this on desktop?
By the way, Dan B thrown out there. Did someone say Pickard? Make it so, number 1.
All right. Send a server invite link to a friend. Copy. And we'll drop this in the comments. Yeah, come along. Let's have some fun on game days. This is supposed to be a good time. It's been a great time, I would say, on game days. Everybody who's a host of the podcast, raise your hand if you've signed up for the Discord channel that you suggested. I'll put my hand down because you suggested it. Did you set up yet, Mike?
I do have Discord on my laptop.
Yeah. Okay. So one more step you got to take. Why don't we download it to our phone?
Oh.
Join the conversation on game day.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember? That was your idea? Okay. I'm going to give you a hard goddamn time every single episode. Okay. Business out of the way. Enjoyed that. Go to our X account too. It's at Red Wings Rant. If you guys want to support the show with t-shirt wise, we have our shop up there. Okay. So here's what we have up here. We have from Evolving Hockey, our results.
Don't enable Matt and laugh at that. Tell him, Matt, leave Michael alone. Where's Jared when I need him? Anyway,
isn't that LMAO? Leave Michael alone.
Owl face.
Owl face.
All right, owl face. What's this first slide you got for us?
Okay, I gotta blow it up because I can't even see it. My eyes are so bad.
I can see.
All right.
I think you just need glasses. Yeah.
Well, we're looking at expected goals for percentage. This is how this is sorted. This is from Evolving Hockey. We went ahead and took a look at our advanced stats here for the game against the Rangers.
This is really bad.
Robbie Fabry, 10% expected goals for percentage.
I know, but this doesn't look good because now Soderblom's never going to get called up. Unless it's at Fabry's expense, I guess. Or the dancing bear himself, Mr. Berger.
Please elaborate.
If Kostin and Rasmussen and Fisher are doing well, then I probably won't see my heroes.
No, because they're doing something different, right? Steve always makes the argument that those
Yeah, but
guys
Soderblom,
are the
he's going to
playmakers.
be getting those fourth line minutes. They're not going to move him up to like second or third.
I I think you're looking at guys that are just solid. Like at this point, it's like this bottom six, and they're
Like
interchangeable.
based
So
off this projection, they're not going to like send down Veleno. Copp's not going anywhere. That's one of Steve's boys. And Fabry, he could shank one of Yzerman's family members, and he'd still have a job. They're kind of committed to that contract. They're committed to that man. You feeling a little bit healthy? Yeah, I still got a little bit of a boo boo. Get on out there and screw up our 1-game winning streak. So,
here's the thing. First of all, it's not a projection; those are our results. Second of all, I what I want to do is figure out with this is like, okay, we lose to the Rangers, right? With these numbers, was there something we did against Boston that worked, right? Because either way, what is it? It was 4 goals we gave up against Boston, and then 5 goals to the Rangers. So we're not really like are we looking at this and going like, oh, which side of the defense was better? Well, the 4-goal one. No, they both sucked ass. So we got to figure out where did the offense go, right between these 2 games? Because I will say like that third period was just basically 10 minutes of good Red Wing hockey, and then we had 50 minutes of absolute shit. So if we go to this next slide here, which is the Boston game, first thing that jumps out at you, or should, is a hell of a game from Olli Maatta. What the fuck? 4 expected goals for per 60 for Olli Maatta. Of course, he's leading the team with expected goals for percentage. And if we wind the slides back, one little ditty here, Olli Maatta, negative factor to the game. Moving it forward again, right at the top of this list here, you got DeBrincat, you got Larkin, the guys that you need to score. We're getting opportunities to get the puck on the net. Go to New York, still up there, not as strong, closer to like 50%. And then I think the other thing we want to measure here too, right, is the expected goals for per 60, which was clearly higher for DeBrincat and Dylan Larkin. So in the Boston game, they're getting more real opportunities with a 3.6 and a 3.69 against Boston. And then against New York, you've got a 2.82 and a 2.58, and then tossed Lucas Raymond for the 2.68. So it's, to me, that's a whole, like you're talking about, like between those 3, can you get a goal out of those 3 playing a whole game? And you'd like to. In the Boston game, you would have statistically, and in this game, nope. Or I should say against New York, no. But then you just keep going down the list, and the expected goals for per 60 against New York, you got a goal from Andrew Copp, but basically he broke the system. He's at a 0.57. So it's just like, okay, well, that happened. Maybe it shouldn't have. Klim, Michael Rasmussen, also with the goals. That line was just popping off. I mean, I don't think it would have been labeled as just like an high energy line if they didn't put pucks in the back of the net. It would have just been something like, yeah, let's get this team turned around. But they did go in. But I will also attach the asterisk that I do not need Klim Kostin to put in goals for me to be proud of this team, for me to count on this team. So that's where it's just absolute shit. The guys I needed to put the puck on the net, even though Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat come away with some of the more solid numbers, they were still clearly held back and kept off the board. What do you say, like properly by the Rangers? Pulled a whole goal per 60 off. And if you want to add all 3 of them together, pulled 3 goals per 60 off the board based on the way they stopped those guys, and then just run it down the list. Everything was stifled as you continue down. And then a couple of guys, again, nobody's going to go to DraftKings and put down $20 that Klim Kostin's going to score tonight. Maybe he'll put down $1 because you're going to walk away with 30. But why throw away the $1 when Klim's not going to score anyway?
Can I bet against that?
You can. Fun. You're not going to. Yeah, if you want a penny, go for it.
I really want to turn $1 into a penny.
Think about, you win, so you get $1 and a penny back. But if he does score, you just wasted $1. And all those times you didn't score, you got a penny. So that's how betting works, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, speaking of $1 well spent, Jared Shaw reminding us, Kostin had one good game.
Who said that?
I don't know which tone that was, but Kostin had one good game. I don't know if that was in reply to me being sad that he had a good game and it means it's going to block my beloved prospects from ever making it. Just a little bit of reality there. And then Dan B thrown in. I didn't even notice Fisher on the ice. Well, the statisticians did. I don't know about the eyeball test, but the statisticians were very impressed. Crimson, welcome aboard, bud. Good to see you. Jim Johnson, the old pot stirrer himself. How you doing, Jim? Rasmussen, saying Jim. Rasmussen needs to start picking up his game. You know, it shouldn't feel like a surprise when you see him on the score sheet. I feel like he's too big and he's not as... I feel like his stick handling, you know, it should kind of be a little bit more productive. So I do agree. I am surprised that he's not somebody we can kind of count in night out. I know that they kind of ask him to do a different role, you know, besides goal scoring. So, you know, it kind of leads us to, you know, to reason that's why that third period was kind of the ne'er-do-wells time to shine, because, you know, Newsy was just kind of like, just let him off the hook. All right, somebody's got to figure out a goal, and all the jabronis got goals in the same period. Dan B throwing out a little bit of reality out there for us. Rangers are much quicker than Boston. It is a pretty damn good team. I don't know if I can really push back on the quicker, but right now I feel like their four lines are pretty sexy. I'm pretty jealous of that team. And they beat us without their goaltender too, which kind of sucks. And Crimson throwing in a real comment here saying, I've noticed this team plays default lost until they score once. But if they don't score, they play the game like it's coming off a hangover. Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's what I was throwing out before. It was like Rasmussen, again, that goal could have totally just rang off the post. We would have just been like, all right, more Rasmussen, which, by the way, I pulled up the Rap'em chart for Rasmussen so far this year. Holy fuck, does this thing suck? But it is on the defensive side. So, you know, we're about to talk about how he can't score. Guys, this is one of the worst defensive Rap'em charts I've ever seen. Again, 167 even strength minutes so far is what's being measured here. So it's not like we've got 82 games to look at, but holy fuck, this is terrible.
Not good, Bob. Not good.
After the title of worst offensive forward, trying to steal it from Mr. Robert Fabry, Michael Rasmussen doing his darndest.
Yeah, isn't it weird, because you came in a little bit later, that they'll do that, right, where it seems like they're the whole team is just kind of broken. One goal goes in and they're like, yeah, we can all do it, and then they all start scoring. It's just, man, if they could figure out how to score first period goals, they probably win a lot more games instead of waiting till it's too late.
Ketzel thrown out there. Mata has been so good. He can't be dragging the corpses of Petrie and Sherratt for 60 minutes. You know what really scares me is every time we see these lineups and Petrie and Sherratt are scheduled to play together. But what's funny too, I think more often than not, I think we're getting, I mean, obviously for the season so far, we're in a positive points percentage. So those guys have been able to bring us wins, but I do think it's crazy. I think it's absolutely nuts that the argument could possibly be made that there wasn't enough time on ice for Edvinsson to get a real shot here. You know how we play that bullshit of like Steve Eiserman's like, oh, well, I'm not going to bring up Berggren because then he's going to get fourth line minutes and I don't want to waste his time. We are talking about a defenseman with Edvinsson. Like, there's 20 minutes out there, if not 19 or 18. Like, who are we fucking kidding? Get these fucking shitbags off the ice and off my team. I mean, namely Sherratt, but I mean, come on. But to that point, like Mata, serviceable. Gosh, it's a conundrum. I will say I don't look at like Mata as the problem, but he's just another guy on the team where we're talking about like that could be upgraded for sure. But yeah, you know, they've all had their moments, right? I would say every line, and I think I give more. I push on Copp and I push on Comfer more than everybody else, but I think the bottom 9 for these forwards and the bottom 4 for these defensemen have all had their moment where I'm just fucking furious watching them. So I'm giving a pass to the first line, even though not every game. It would be nice to see DeBrincat. Has he gotten that 10th goal yet? I was giving him shit the other day while we were texting back and forth. He's you know, that's not to say he's the problem because he hasn't gone from 9 to 10 goals, but you know, a goal here or there would be nice every now and then. But basically the point I'm coming to is like for Mata, like I don't hate my man.
Yeah.
But he's had his moments. We've seen some bad passes, some bad exits out of the zone from him. I think that might be like one of the biggest problems I have with this team is how hard it seems to make those transitions, starting with the defenseman. But I've also been surprised, like at the same time, like there's been a couple times where I've done like our little screenshot videos for X or for Twitter. And I'm just like, whoa, look at Ben Sherratt passing all the from behind the net all the way to the red line and getting us set up for, you know, a breakaway or getting us set up for an on-man rush. Like I've been also shocked by Ben Sherratt. But, you know, for every time that we love what we're seeing or have fun, like I'm going to pull up Ben Sherratt. Let's see what's going on. You know, Mike, do you want to should we do a guess here? Do we think this is going to be a positive Can we
just guess whether or not it's going to be worse than Rasmussen?
I think overall it's going to be. I think overall it's going to be worse. I think like there'll be more red for Ben Sherratt, but not as bad of a Corsi against per 60 and expected goals against per 60. But here we go. Whoa! All right, Mike, you win. Ben Sherratt. Not doing terribly, but still kind of what I was mentioning with these transitions here, not getting a lot of pucks on the net when he's out there. But you know what?
Pucks on,
hey, where's Blake?
I was going to say,
you could totally throw this in my face right now.
That's fine. Crimson again. He's been on a little hot streak here. Husso is getting a lot of hate last night. Hard to hate on a guy when your team leaves you for dead. Your offense is only good at hitting posts, making strong sounds. You know, that's an interesting point, Crimson, because, you know, usually when it starts to get that one-sided, you know, kind of pull the goalie. It's just kind of like, it's not really on him. And Husso was, I think even he was kind of like, that's not really on me. Yeah, you can leave me in there. I'm not depressed or anything. I'm not questioning my confidence. This is just, we're just getting our asses kicked. Yeah, it's a little discouraging. But it does make you feel better about Edvinsson getting a job, right? There's arguably 3 guys who could be taking ice time away from.
Well, there's your Petrie Rap'em chart real quick for everybody on YouTube. That guy's just steady bad across the board. Not the worst defensive forward we've ever seen, which is what Rasmussen's Rap'em chart suggests, which I don't think is true. We're just saying what the Rap'em chart suggests. But Petrie's just like solid, like sucks. Like, let's just
harping on something I think you touched on a second ago is Jim Johnson saying the cat has been very quiet.
Yeah.
I don't know if like teams are just knowing that, okay, he's a major threat, so we'll try to shut him down. So it's kind of like you have to wait for the rest of the Red Wings to kind of score and fill that void. And then, the defense will kind of even out a little bit more. But I didn't know it would be a sonic burst to start the season and then just, a little bit of a tumbleweed here for, about 6 games. So you can't really be mad. I mean, I think when you when you get excited about a new acquisition, you want to see him come out hot out of the gate, which he did, and he's we're pretty confident in his abilities going forward. I wouldn't mind seeing just a little bit more though. But you know how these seasons go and these players go, and when DeBrincat was scoring, that was when Lucas. We were kind of like, well, he's off to a slow start, and now he's arguably their best player right now.
Yeah.
So it's just going to kind of be a little bit of the ebb and flow, and I think Clamp Sauce is definitely on the coattails of that thought, saying no panic yet.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think it's also very important to mention too that we saw that first line struggle a bit. And one of the things I forgot was how bad Larkin got thrown into the boards, and his back's probably killing him right now. But not just his back getting thrown in the boards, but you're talking about hot and cold streaks on the wingers on that first line. Larkin is always a 100% Larkin, even with the injury. I just I don't think we're giving it enough credit.
I do kind of wish that with Larkin playing hurt, I wish that hockey had a bye week. And luckily, we have one coming up next week when we have 4 days off before those games overseas. So that's going to be really good for the Red Wings. Performance art checking in. How you doing, bud? He's ready to start the rebuild, sarcastically, I assume. But he was also excited about that Boston game.
I like performance art just threw in there. Let's start shuffling those lines. And Jared Shaw, Blashill blender question mark. But hey, I think these two hosting the show be first to say, if we're gonna say that this team is a clear upgrade from a couple years ago, and I think Jared, this might be tongue in cheek, your Blashill blender, but what the fuck was Blashill gonna do with that lineup? Like, if we're saying, and again, I don't hate this lineup, but there's clear spots where we can improve this team. But if we're saying this team is significantly better than what Blashill was dealing with, I tried not to give him a hard time for Blashill blender as much as I could until it really looked like he lost the team. Like that's when we started talking about that at the end of Blashill. But honestly, Blashill blender never really bothered me. It was always just like, wow, these guys will never fucking score. I got to keep changing it up till something works. But yeah, why not? Why not? Let's mix it up. I will say, Perron, Copp, that looked fucking sweet. And then it didn't. So,
Yeah, it's we're probably going to notice when some of our players aren't as good when we start playing better teams. It's like, oh yeah, these guys should probably be down a whole, spot on the lineup card. But that's okay. I know we're not Stanley Cup contenders yet. It's just, when you have to see the evidence on the ice and on the scoreboard and on your phone and the app alerts, it's kind of a bummer. Hey, Justin, don't call me whole. Man, he's doing a couple good things.
Well, this is somebody who clearly is benefiting from the high shooting percentage because chances are not getting put on net while he's on the ice, but his goals for per 60 is off the charts. Crazy. 1 minute of power play time. How is he on the ice for so many goddamn goals? So shooting
question too.
What was that?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say shooting percentage off the charts for Justin Hall when he's on the ice, but so far solid. I think with the role he's playing too, to see the expected goals against per 60 and Corsi against per 60, like he's in the top half of the league for at least a positive performance. It's good to see, especially as somebody like me who questioned that signing and it is still kind of, wouldn't say I can make that signing. It's not hurting us right now, but not sure why we bothered.
Oh, bringing up Mr. Sexy. Well,
Mr. Ghost Bear himself. Yeah, those power play numbers again, off the charts for the goals going in for Ghost Bear. And again, this is for anybody. I know on the podcast it's like tough to follow this stuff, but basically we're looking at these charts again to recap. Like, how are they compared? How is each player compared across the rest of the league? So it's not just like this. How many goals does this guy have? It's do we have better defensemen than another team? And again, I think things have been working out great for Gas to Spare, but this chart does also suggest for his power play numbers here, we could get more pucks on the net, and the shooting percentage has been really nice. And we've seen when the shooting percentage isn't so nice, this power play looks like we'll watch the game. We'll just be like, wow, this power play is just completely fucking lost. But the puck goes in.
yeah.
Who made the comment earlier? I'm sorry, guys.
Somebody brought up it
who
was
said
9 for 18, and then was it 3 for? I think it was Jim. I think Jim was coming in hot.
Well, also the point
Yeah,
of
it was
like once
Jim.
we
3 for
once we get
30 in the last 30. Before that, we were batting 500, 9 for 18.
right. I was talking about the comment. Once we get a goal in, it's like we open the floodgates. It's like the confidence level just goes through the roof. I don't know if we're quite landing on a point here, but I think with everything we've seen, can we sum this up? Like, clearly, these guys aren't as bad, and especially again, like we had some call outs in the chat. I think it was Jared that was like, Sherrod's having an okay year. I think he's having a better year, but I think he has shown still a lot of weaknesses in his game, and I wouldn't mind if that ended. But things are looking good. Like, they're working out, and it's just if we could find some consistency, I feel like for 60 minutes. And again, going back to like what we were talking about here, I think it's really tough when we're looking at like evolving hockey and looking at the expected goals for percentage numbers, like trying to figure out how do you find a win? You win against Boston, you lose to New York, and you lost like for 50 minutes of that game, you were absolutely shellacked.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? I think it's just that matter of not shitting the bed for 2 periods. That's happened a lot this season. They need to wake up in that first period. Wake up in the first period. It's not about getting the goal. Stop. Like, don't be ass. Don't put yourself in a 5-goal hole after 2 periods. But it has been some slow starts. I just think there's a team here. Is it because we're older? Is that the problem? Do we not have like enough young guys to like kick it up a notch in the first period? Do you think it would be the opposite? We have an older team by the numbers, but they're all awake 10 minutes to go in the third period. They're like, let's fucking go, boys.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm gonna land the plane right now. We're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. I think it's that there is a team that can win.
I think the scariest thing might just be like, when we feel like this team has graduated from, they're not completely inept, and we would prefer that they not be, below average or average. We kind of want them to already be above average. And what that is night in, night out consistency. But night in, night out consistency, I'd say we've been pretty consistent to start the year, where we have one really good line and the rest of the bottom 9 as it is. Against certain teams, I think they are going to be able to perform. And I think what we're learning as we play, elite teams, like real contenders, like, top half of the standings teams, we're not going to crush those guys. We're not going to sweep them. It's going to have to be a hard fought, battle from, opening puck drop all the way to the final biscuit. And I don't know if that's necessarily discouraging, but I think it is. I hope it's a reality that they have acknowledged, especially for management, kind of seeing like, oh, maybe we won't set the world on fire based on some of the like skill level ceilings that our players on the second and third and fourth line have. So it's not burn everything to the ground. It's not trade the entire team, but to really compete against the Bostons, it doesn't take a eruption of goals and energy in one period, kind of swinging things back, or against the Rangers, just getting embarrassed on national TV. It's probably just going to take more talent. So I don't think this is really a newsy issue. I don't think this is we got to coach these guys up. I think this is kind of what you're going to get before you're an elite team. You're going to get your ass kicked by some good teams on the road. And the only real solution is, you probably got to get better players.
I'm gonna throw this out there because I think this will be interesting for the chat, and I think it'll be interesting for us to tackle. Crimson throws out there, frustrating thing about the Iser plan for me is he preached developing talent in the draft. 5 years later, we leave the talent in Grand Rapids and bring in an army of old men. Jared throws out there, better to keep prospects in Grand Rapids to develop instead of getting crushed by NHL regulars. I would have to say I can't support that 100%, right? Like how many times we just talked last week about like you could win the Calder Cup in Grand Rapids and then these guys come up to the NHL and it doesn't necessarily mean like it translates. I mean, at some point, these guys, it's not like we're still talking about Berggren and he's like 18. Like, I'm not asking Danielson to come up. I'm asking for some of these guys with some time over in the SHL, some time in the NHL.
Like, I think it was like, to piggyback on what you're saying, I think it was Boltman saying how tough it is for Berggren to get called up because his skill set lends itself best to being on the power play and being on a first or second line so he can contribute to scoring because that's what he's really good at. And he's not a big body, so he's not going to bring a lot defensively. I don't think that point is out in left field, but it's like for management to tell us we do not want an offense first player on the Red Wings right now because we want to keep our defense first players. And this is arguably the worst our defense has looked since this Iser plan has started. It's just kind of a baffling move. You're going to tell me it's for me, what I call it is, if you guys are Piston fans, I call it Michael Curry-itis, where you call a guy a defensive stopper, but that's just because they can't score. So I guess I'm not ready to just hang my hat and say, well, we're a little more committed to defense than we are offense. And then you have guys who aren't playing defense and they're not scoring. So it feels like, at least if we brought Berggren in, he's a playmaker. It's a hard pill for me to swallow because or philosophy, explanation, I'll say excuse. It's a hard excuse for me to swallow why this guy's not, at the NHL level, or Soderblom. I know he's not a defensive stopper yet. My God, I think he could be one day. But we love seeing his big ass in front of the net and, getting in the goalie's way. So, I mean, if you're going to call us double down on defense, get some guys who could play some fucking defense because we don't have it. And if you don't have that, maybe play to a strength. This team does well when they start scoring goals. So bring up more goal scorers.
Yeah, another one on here too, like Jim throws out there, I expect we still have to build chemistry, especially with the forwards. Lots of change from last year. I mean, same with the defense, right? We just went through Hall, Gostisbehere, Petrie. Sherratt was in and out of the lineup. We only landed on Walman and Sider halfway through last year, so they haven't even gotten a full season together. But then we added all these forwards. We've all been talking about how some of these guys will just be moved at the trade deadline. That's another problem, to go back to Crimson's call out, which I don't think it's a challenge to say, like, we're not saying like the Iser plan is failing here, but there's some big question marks coming up because aren't we just going to do the same thing next year? Or are we settled on this lineup and Bergeron and Soderblom should stay in Grand Rapids again? So it's hard. There's so many huge question marks where it's like, what the fuck is the plan? And I think it's something too where you threw in the word excuse, and I think it's more than getting these guys to develop in Grand Rapids. I don't think that, Jared, I don't think you're wrong, but I feel like we're starting to see some glimpses that there's some huge, not just question marks the fans have, or that I hope you guys have for what's going on here, but maybe some question marks within the front office for so many forward free agent signings that they aren't liking what's come together so far in these drafts through 5 years. Maybe it's not that they don't like it, but they're just seeing some guys that, all right, we thought maybe we were going to get this. Now we need to make adjustments because this player's not going to be 40 points for us. So we got to figure out how to better utilize this kid's talent. Like he's going to now be this for us kind of thing. So I'm not putting anything in pen, but I can't look at any decision that's been made so far with a lot of confidence. I think it's a healthy amount of eyebrow raising, a very like tiny amount, healthy amount of skepticism on any like hardline strategy right now. But yeah, I think that this is what we said last week, right? I would need more convincing that this was all part of the plan, that Bergeron absolutely was going to be in Grand Rapids to start the year after playing in the NHL last year.
Yeah.
Then the other side, like I would need, comparatively, how much evidence would I need or need to be convinced that they're less confident in his ability and we're maybe a little bit further away from having a core being built here of drafted talent. So I don't know. Your last two drafts for centers, also last two big forward free agent signings, long-term contracts for centers. It just, what are we doing?
We are blocking those boys from having NHL jobs, baby.
There's question marks. There has to be question marks. You guys have to have a healthy amount of skepticism. Well,
the other scary thing, Matt, and it makes me shudder to think. I'm not really putting Casper or Danielson in this grouping, but the scariest thing is, how much we talk about, Steve is so good at drafting and developing talent, and I'm really terrified that we just have a bunch of Jacob Turners in our pipeline.
Oh God. See,
that's if you don't remember that
being
reference, hurt. That's the Detroit Tigers saying, "Oh man, we got like the top pitching prospect ever," and then he, we kept him in the minors for a long time, and then we found out it was for good reason because he wasn't very good.
And remember too, like we're having two different conversations here, because I will still say I'm going to land on, again, said earlier, we've seen enough out of this Red Wing team to what? Because I'm jerking off a tiny little wiener with my hand.
That was funny, but I was also laughing at Dan Bergeron saying, "Oh, you said 8:45, bastards."
What?
Which time zone was that, Dan? Can you let me know where it said 8:45? I'm usually getting ready to watch a little AEW at that point, man.
Yeah, we're always 7:45. What are you talking about?
Wait, that's his real name. He wasn't always Dan Bergeron.
Yeah, this is Blake.
Like a handle.
Yeah, that's Blake. But Dan is Mike. If you join the Discord, you know that's Dan. He joined the Discord and revealed himself to be Dan.
We have so many secret Dans in this group.
There's a lot of Dans. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, right. I was saying we've seen enough to say, like, yes, this team will challenge for a playoff spot, or there's enough here to challenge for it. That's a completely different conversation from what was the plan again? And you know what? trade a couple guys away. Soderblom, Edmondson, Berggren get inserted in the lineup. We go on like a 10-game winning streak. You guys go, see, you fucking idiot. You just had to be patient. 100%. But what Mike just talked about was how long we've been watching sports and the things that you start to see where you're like, that's weird. I would have 100% thought Berggren had a lineup in this group of forwards. I would have 1000% thought we didn't need to sign and trade for so many defensemen because we had some guys that could fill these holes. But instead that happened. Two different conversations. Again, yes, I do think we have a team now we can watch for the rest of the year and go, should be challenging for a playoff spot. Wheels are really going to have to fall off for us to be at the end of the year. And we're like, oh man,
oh no,
celebrating, here we come. Like Cole Eiserman. Woo. I don't think that's the conversation we're going to have at the end of the year, but also grand scheme, macro level. What the fuck is the plan? Is healthy skepticism right now.
Well, somebody was pointing out that, we're still pretty close to the top of the standings. Why are you so grumpy? And I think
Who
it's
said
more.
That? I don't feel grumpy.
They didn't use the word grumpy. They just said, why do you seem so alarmed? I guess just kind of looking at the schedule. We lost opening night to the Devils, arguably one of our should be a peer, right? Playoff team. We beat Tampa without their goalie. I do think that caveat is important. I mean, I love beating Tampa, but I think it's an important caveat. We beat Columbus. We beat Pittsburgh, which not super enamored of that team.
Yeah.
Ottawa, right? They've kind of been swirling down to the toilet.
Bottom of the division right now.
Calgary, not. I know they have a fire on their sea, not setting the world on fire. Then we played Seattle, who's still kind of trying to figure things out. Lost an OT. Then we got spanked by Winnipeg. Matt, we were there in person. It was horrible. Then we got spanked by Boston. Then we had a roaring comeback. Another third period roaring comeback here against the Islanders. We roll into November. Shutout versus Florida. We can't beat this fucking team. I don't know what it is. A roaring comeback against the Bruins. A roaring comeback against the Rangers that comes up short. I think the scary part is in those games that I listed, the good teams we really struggled against. So
yeah.
It's, there's those I think it's easier to kind of talk about a fraudulent team in the NFL because there's only 17 games, but it's one of those playoff teams that just beats up on garbage, and then when they play against real teams, they're like, whoa, what are they doing in the playoffs?
Yeah,
I think it's just a little alarming to see what happens when we go against real competition. We're not completely bare butt spanked every time, but it is a little concerning to see shutouts and numerous lopsided scores, unless we can have these roaring comebacks in the third period. So I feel like you got to feel pretty good about the immediate future here, right? Playing Montreal, Columbus again, Ottawa, and then Toronto is probably the hardest of those 4 games. So you got to feel like, all right, maybe we can kind of climb back up the standings, like point wise, right? With make some headway in these couple games, but
that's
after that it goes Toronto, New Jersey, Boston, and then Minnesota, and then you get a rematch against the Rangers, and then you get Bedard. So it'd be it feels pretty important to get some points here in these next 3 games because the 3 games after that you might get none.
I will say sort of the I feel like you're attacking us with the wrong tone. I still will say, like, there's a world where we're talking about Celebrini at the end of the season. That is not this team that I've been watching. Something has happened. Larkin got hurt. DeBrincat shit the bed without Larkin, and we just can't find something catastrophic. This team can be in the playoff conversation, and for the reasons you listed, you can lose to all the good teams and beat all the shit teams, like the shutout against Columbus we did a couple weeks ago. bring me those. We'll get those points. We'll be in the conversation. But yeah, you gotta, like I said earlier, it's like the team is there. That 10 minutes in the third period, if that team had shown up in the first period, we'd have a completely different conversation in the show. That's how we opened the show. It's like, man, does that suck that we lost to the Rangers, when the show would be completely different right now if we had come in and won 3-2, like in New York or something like that, after coming back against Boston. Like, again, episode would be completely different. But I don't know. Like, we were trying to put a finger on like what the hell's going on, and sometimes it's just like, well, the shooting percentage decided to take a few periods off, and then it's like we just can't get our head above water. But that's not Boston doesn't have that problem. We beat Boston, but Pasta's just like on the power play, ripping it from the red line. Like, all right, boop, there we go, goal. All right, now it's 5-4. Now we can pull the goalie at the end of like. That wasn't a problem. We felt that. We felt that with DeBrincat. It's kind of fallen off a little bit, but I think right now we have a conversation with any even casual hockey fan who's better, DeBrincat or Pasta. I'm sorry, Pasternak's going to win that conversation. That's not really hard conversation to have. So it's just you said it earlier. I think grand scheme, little extra talent. This season, we have a fun, good team that will compete. We're looking at what I've seen so far. I'm good saying it. I'm done. In the playoff mix at the end of the season. Something really catastrophic happened where that is not the scenario at the end of the season. But grand scheme, and we were talking about what's going on with the Eligibility point. I think that conversation was more negative from my perspective. A completely different conversation about this team and looking pretty good to start this season, especially better than I thought the team was going to look. So I think the tone on talking about this season should be more positive. The tone for the Yzerplan grand scheme, I think, should be thumbs up with a question mark, like, and a shoulder shrug. Like, I think so, but also the evidence doesn't really point to what the team was supposed to be, and it's been a while, and it's not really, it's different. It's different from what we were told right now. Long contracts for old farts. Yeah, I don't know. I think you guys should be raising more eyebrows. I think you guys should be like going like, does this make sense?
Those are my favorite. Those are my favorite pivots in a Red Wing discussion. It's not so much the team. I have some questions for Steve. I have some questions for our golden calf levitating over Little Caesars Arena right now.
Yeah.
I just was going through a few of these comments too. Jared bringing up another good point. This year's record nearly identical to last year's. And I guess the main difference is I feel more confident about us playing average to below average teams than I did last year. And I guess I kind of feel about the same of what the outcome is going to be when we play a good team. The third period goals are pretty cool. But as far as like winning, I'm still kind of not willing to drop that FanDuel money on it yet, man. Dan B, you're right. It's very early. Break the season up into 10-game segments, he says. And I think he means that for analytical purposes. And we've only just begun the second segment. Relax, breathe deep. Yeah, I want to think positive. It's just you start to see some, alarming trends about what the future holds for this year's squad. And I don't think it's a first-round playoff win, but we might be able to make it into the playoffs and, get a game or two. But yeah, now it's got a little more talent.
We both, I mean, everyone here in the chat knows, like it's also about like, do you predict the Red Wings win in the first round? It's definitely possible. And I think we asked a few weeks ago, and I think it got heated where I was like, do you want to just be the team that's like, haha, we got here and we won a round, and then you're like, well, what next? And then who were we talking about earlier? Seattle was the first team. I think I brought that up, and they're below 500. Florida, who shut us out, is right near 500. They're, obviously they should be in that conversation, knocking out Boston, getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. But I don't know. Can you blame Steve Yzerman that he doesn't have Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon on his roster when he joined the team? No, you can't. But it's gonna be, based on his words, building through the draft, a little bit harder to do if you're, like I said, this should be a team at the round 16, like at worst, like 19th in the league. So you're not really getting Cole Yzerman or Celebrini.
Well, let's
12.
We got to wrap it up soon, but I did want to throw some more comments out there. Crimson just throwing out that reminder. Only prospects on the team we got: Lucas, Sider, Joe Valeno. I have a lot of questions to ask when I think we have prospects that are better than what's currently on the team. Especially, it feels like defensively, right? Because they're not stopping anybody. And Dan B saying nobody clicks on sane, logical reason takes. Only house on fire comments get attention. That's not true, Dan. We talk about your comments all the time. Performance art throwing out a great comment here. Let's bring in Zadina, goal scoring savant. Love it.
Yep, him and San Jose knocking it out of the park.
And Dan flashes. All I know, another Dan. Welcome aboard, Dan. All I know is we're not suffering under Kenny Holland any longer. At least we have that. That is true. You could be Edmonton right now.
So
could have been worse, John. Could have been a lot worse. Yeah.
With all of this negative talk for the Yzer plan and us going, like we don't know what it is. I thought I would show what our ranking was last week and show you guys where we're at this week.
Oh no, man, we're tumbling.
Points percentage wise, we're 16th in the league. So if the Stanley Cup playoffs were 1 through 16, which I wish they would do that, we just made it. Thumbs up.
Just keep thinking positive Dan B thoughts. 10 game segments. 10 game segments. 10 game segments. Over.
Finishing, we're 3rd in the league, which is crazy. Power play, we're still 5th in the league, still doing great. It's all those, Mike, it's all those gosh darn defensive statistics that are kicking us in the ass. Now actual goals against, right in the middle league at 15. Expected goals against, we're at, oh no, I'm sorry, I am reading that wrong. Holy shit. Wait, this is way worse. This is so goddamn confusing. Goals against 15th, expected goals against 16th. That's fine. That's right where we should be. Stat worked. What the fuck is this? Goals for? We're 8th. Expected goals for? We're 26th. What the all right,
so Mike. I mean, that's just saying we're just wildly overperforming, right?
That's too many Michael Currys on this team.
I'm telling you, Michael Curryitis is a real phenomenon. You guys are going to start seeing it everywhere.
You fucking nailed it. We were so far from the slide. There's too many goddamn Michael Currys on this team. We're being sold that we're stopping defensive dominance from the opponent. But instead, maybe, okay, we're in the middle of the league. Cool. But there's not enough offense to like also even that out. Like if we were like 15th also for expected goals for, we'd be great. I think probably that goals for number goes up a little bit. That's crazy. Mike, you nailed it.
Michael Curryitis. I'm telling you, I coined that one. But Dan or Jim through this, one of the non-Dans had a question for us. Jared thrown in Dan Wings Rant. Love it. Jim asked us twice, and I missed it earlier, Jim. I'm sorry. But he asked, would Lyon play this week? And I'm going to say no, because Reimer's numbers are still pretty good. And I still don't think this team blames Husso. I think they're kind of aware that the defense is in shambles, and that goals against average is kind of, an indicator of how terrible our defense has been.
What's that being said, we do have at least one goalie stat, and I know we need to go, so I'm going to look this up, and then you guys can all think on this.
Meditate on this. Yes.
We have goals saved above expected.
Do you guys like when Matt looks up stats and his monitor is above his camera, so it just looks like he's like a turkey, just kind of looking up to the heavens? That's my favorite part. Yeah.
Reimer, a 4.69 in the positive. So he saved 4 goals so far this season. Ville Husso, 2.04 in the positive. All right. That's where I would look. It's like that to that point, the reason that I like that stat is that it's trying to say, based on the expected goals, so that's combining the effort from the defense, Ville Husso probably should have given up this, but instead he's given up a little bit less.
Yeah.
So I think good on him. Mike, you're waving, or is that you just saying bye?
Oh, just heavy commenter. One of the Dans is calling it a night. See you, bud. But yeah,
thanks, Dan.
I mean, this stat is just very indicative of where we're at as a team. So I please stop saying that we're playing defense and then playing guys who aren't playing defense and also not scoring. That's my plea from what we've seen so far. At least bring in more guys who are comfortable making plays on the ice.
Right. And also to just throw out there, leading the league is Thatcher Demko at 15 goals save above expected. So that gives you an idea of like what elite looks like. Jeremy Swayman from Boston, 9.78. So the 2, is that is that changing the game for us? No, he's actually 30th in the league right now, but I guess he could be doing worse. Like if it was at 0, then he's not really. Is he even NHL caliber goaltender? Is that maybe the argument we're making? No, we're not, because it gets way worse. Okay, never mind. Holy mackerel. We've got a minus 7.3 from Philip Gustafson. Stuart Skinner's at negative 7.95. Where's Jack Campbell?
I thought that was kind of his
4. Huh.
I thought he was going to run away with that one.
Yeah, you'd figure Jack Campbell, who's on waivers. No, it's Edmonton's other goaltender, Stuart Skinner. Even worse. Woo! Poor Edmonton, man. All right, well, yeah, they can have Reimer. I don't care. What do they want? What can we get though? What if it was like a first? What if it was a first-round pick from Edmonton? Then we're back in the Cole Yzerman conversation.
There we go.
Okay, we got to wrap up. So. Everybody,
we'll see you on the Discord for the Canadians.
I forgot to do the ads this week, so you guys lucked out. But we'll see you guys next week for episode number
400.
300. Was it
minus
400?
100. No, it's 300.
Yeah, it's 300. See you guys next week for 300. Maybe
see you on the Discord
to come.
See you on the Discord.
Maybe we're doing a giveaway. Maybe we're doing a giveaway if you join the Discord during episode 300.
Maybe I have some bobbleheads to give away of some legendary Red Wings.
Maybe Matt got some new cards featuring. These are what is this? An Upper Deck Gold something edition. Pulled me a Dylan Larkin this week. Maybe we're gonna give that away.
Matt.
But you got to tune in next week because we love you guys.
I might have a Datsuk bobblehead.
Can I have it?
No, you may not.
I'll be watching.
I'm truthing. I got 5 of them. They're still in the box. You might be able to sell them.
I came back from one of my work meetings, and this poor Pavel's head was spun all the way around. Like it was one of my late days. So the kids, it's Michelle's at home with the kids, and they're just running all over the house.
Yeah.
So it's hard to keep track of everything they do. But one of them climbed up on my desk in my office, and Jimmy Howard was fine, but Pavel, his whole head had just spun completely around. Had to fix him. He's okay now.
You know what really sucks is after you left the room, little Toy Story had to break his own neck again and get back in place. Poor guy. But yeah, we'll call it a wrap, and we'll see you guys on Discord. Maybe I'll even make a cameo. Hooray!
Episode 300 next week. See you guys.
Woo!